Hey guys, welcome back to the ATI Podcast. This is Josh, and to get us started today, I'm going to be talking about what we got coming up. We got my good friend Brady Curdt. I've known Brady for, I want to say 5 or 6, maybe 7 years. And he's going to be our guest today for episode 13. So we welcome Brady of Brady's Jiu Jitsu Club. So we're happy to have him. Brady is a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu practitioner from the Middle area. Just for a little backstory on Jiu Jitsu to make stuff relevant for you guys today, Jiu Jitsu historically dates back to the 700 ADs. A written history of Jiu Jitsu first began during the Nara period of 710 to 794, combining early forms of sumo and various Japanese martial arts which were used on the battlefield for close combat. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, or better known as BJJ, has origins that developed around the 1920s by the Gracie brothers, who now are known world famous after Carlos was taught traditional Kodokan Judo by traveling Japanese Judoka Mitsui Mediya in 1917. BJJ focuses on the skill of taking an opponent to the ground, controlling one's opponent, gaining a dominant position, and using a number of techniques to force them into submission, via chokeouts or joint locks. Brady has had eclectic and intriguing experience we wanted to share with our audience. Brady has also delved into the MMA competition world and achieved the purple belt designation under Hoist Gracie, of the same famed Gracie family, generations removed, jiu-jitsu practice, and is the owner of a jiu-jitsu club in Fredericktown, Missouri, Brady's Jiu Jitsu Club.
We're here today to talk about Mr. Brady. We got with us from Brady's Jiu Jitsu Club. How you doing, Brady?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing fantastic. Thanks for doing the show, man.
Yeah,
no
good
problem.
to see you. I've been missing you guys, not working with you guys anymore, so it's good to see you.
Yeah.
How long have you guys known each other?
Shit.
Josh and Brady.
How long? I guess when I came back to Farmington the second time or the
Yeah,
third time?
because I started in 2015, so I don't remember.
That's about what time I started at Farmington, back at Farmington.
So about 7 years or so?
Yeah.
So, Josh put the bug in my ear about you and thought it'd be a good idea to have you on the show. I know that there's a lot of people in the area that just have kind of common interest in the sport itself, the practice itself. But there's also people that might want to practice locally, reach out to somebody locally to learn it as well. So in this instance, it ended up working out in both phases of the information we were trying to get on the show. So really appreciate you coming on.
For sure, dude.
Are you originally from the area, the middle area?
Yeah. So when I was a little kid, I was raised in Bonne Terre, and then my parents split up, and my mom got remarried. I moved to Farmington and graduated through Farmington.
Okay,
yeah.
So
what was your graduation year?
2014.
Oh, man. I'm not even going to tell you what mine was.
I'm an 06 guy. So.
I'm an 07 guy, so.
So you're right behind me. So you guys have known each other for some amount of time. How long have you been practicing?
So when my mom remarried to my stepdad, I met my stepdad's brother, which is Guy Helm. So I got introduced into martial arts because of him. I was about 12 or 13 when I met him and started off training Taekwondo, and then kind of lost interest in it and kind of switched more of my practice to BJJ. And so I was about 13 when I started. And then through my teenage years, I kind of was hit and miss on practice. So I kind of I had a lot of trouble staying dedicated.
Right.
Well,
so
that's normal in your adolescence. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
You got all the other temptations,
yeah,
school, girls.
Yeah, girls.
Right,
and,
for sure.
I beat myself up about it all the time. But anyways, once I graduated high school, I had a lot better time at staying dedicated. And then that's whenever I started getting serious, and recently just got my purple belt from Hoist himself.
Yeah, so
wow,
congratulations
dude.
on that. For sure.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. When did you originally become interested in BJJ specifically? Was there anything that you saw in the media, let's say a fighter at the time or anything like that, beyond interest in it?
I don't know. There's a lot of cool fighters, but really it was just my uncle. Like, that's how I started martial arts. And
So it's a family thing. So
Yeah.
it's like that's cool. But,
But yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of, good fighters like GSP and Anderson Silva. Like those
Sure.
guys can fight, and there's all kinds. I still watch a lot of those fights today as
yeah, I was
well.
curious, are you still watching like
Yeah, like there's a big pay-per-view tomorrow, UFC 274, and it's crazy because Charles Oliveira, he's the champion, and he was going to fight Justin Gaethje, and the champion missed weight by half a pound. So since he's the champion, he's considered to be the top athlete of that division. So since he missed weight by half a pound, they stripped him of his belt.
Oh man.
Yeah. So
Devastating, dude.
yeah, that's crazy. But like, if you're not the champion in the division, the UFC gives you like a couple pound advantage, But if
Okay.
you're the champion, they're like, nah, sorry, bro.
Right,
Strip
you're
ya.
held to a higher standard in
Yeah.
that regard.
Yeah, and that's what's so crazy about
So
this
like,
sport.
even if he wins, like if the champion win, they're still gonna fight. So if if Charles wins tomorrow, he's just considered the number one contender instead of.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
crazy.
that is interesting.
Yeah, there's so many different aspects to the sport overall, you know what I mean? Mixed martial arts. People think two guys just get in a cage and beat the tar out of each other until one hits the ground, but there's like so much to it, dude.
Yeah, and I would say like my first interest in MMA, BJJ actually specifically was that because in the early UFCs, like my dad watched and got on pay-per-view UFC 1, 2, and 3. So, I was introduced to the Gracie family through that and pretty aware. Always kind of kept tabs on them over the years.
Yeah.
There's actually, I'm really into pro wrestling. So Eva Torres, one of the wrestlers, she's married to Gracie as well. I've just always kind of been fascinated by them, the history of their family.
Yeah, and she's like, it's crazy because, I grew up watching her, wrestle and stuff when I was a kid. And it's crazy how she's like completely like switched her lifestyle to, dedicating like all her time and everything to the Gracie family. So it's just, it's real cool.
Yeah, and what I really like about the stuff that she's involved with on social media is she does a lot, which that is the practice, but she does a lot of self-defense, particularly for women, in particularly scenarios. So like child abduction, for example. I saw a lot of their tutorials on what to do in those situations, but they do a very good job of simplifying it, breaking it down for you in a short amount of time as well. So, that's something that you could seek out on social media even to get an introduction to how effective the practice is, regardless male, female, height, weight, in a lot of scenarios.
And jiu-jitsu is original art from Japanese.
Right.
It's a Japanese martial art. The Gracies learned it from a Japanese immigrant and what's known more as jiu-jitsu today.
Right.
It was made for smaller people defending themselves against larger opponents.
Right.
And that's why you see in all the demos today. And so Hoist was the star fighter for the Gracie family, and it was supposed to be his older brother Hickson.
Right.
But they decided to use his father decided, Elio Gracie, the grandmaster, he decided to use Hoist to show like that a weaker, smaller opponent can still defend against these larger guys.
Absolutely.
And, it's just crazy, the opponents that he had and all the fights that he went through.
And I mean, it's obviously effective because, I think different special forces in different militaries across the world train in it. There's
like Green Berets and close combat.
Police train in it. It's obviously an effective tool. You know what I mean?
Without question. Yeah, so the Gracie family, they came to establish the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in particular.
Right.
And there's just a lot of branches, they went on to generations and generations are involved in it as well. And not only is there the familial connection, but now they've brought those practices into North America specifically. So they have students, and those students have students, and so on and so on. So the roots are very deep, is my point.
Yeah, for sure.
Was kind of your first exposure to the BJJ aspect of stuff? Who did you gravitate towards? Let's say in the wrestle culture, we'll say, regardless of what promotion they were with.
What do you mean, who inspired me?
Yeah, would you say? Kind of your spirit animal, if you will.
When we first started training jiu-jitsu, we was learning from Henner Gracie, which is he's the cousin of Hoyce, or the nephew, sorry. And they run the Gracie University website, which is, they're by far the most popular as far as the Gracies and their side of the art that they teach. Like it's crazy. Like they've got 300,000 students or something online all over the world in 27 different countries. And they have, it's 100% online curriculum.
Right.
They give you these sets of moves that you got to drill, and you got to go through them. And you got to, once you're done, you send your video in, and then they watch it and
they critique it.
And a lot of people, I guess, gave them bad criticism for that. A lot of the other family members didn't agree with that. But it's definitely proven to be successful. And now I think they've changed it to where now you have to go to a certified academy to you send your video in, and then to get your belt or whatever your certificate, your teaching certificate, you have to go to a certified center now. So I think they've changed that. But that's where we started learning from them. And my uncle sent his video in for his blue belt and got his blue belt from them. And then it was, I think it was not long after that, we had the opportunity to go down to Paducah, Kentucky, and train at Academy 3 Rivers down there. Mm-hmm. And that's where we met Hoyce and a couple of our other instructors, Jared Jessup and Eli Knight, which Eli Knight is a black belt under Hoyce, and he's coming to my school this summer to teach some seminars.
Okay.
So
that'll be cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. He's going to come down and help promote my school. But anyways, met Hoyce, and then we had another opportunity a couple months later to train with Hoyce when we went down there, and my uncle started to gain a close connection with Hoyce. And then one day he wanted to come out to our academy, which is Farmington Martial Arts, and teach a seminar. So he came out one year and taught a seminar, and then it was, a couple months after that, he gave us the opportunity to join his network. So now we've been a part of his network. I guess it's been a while. I want to say 5 years or so. So
Wow.
5 or 6 years.
That's
so
cool,
yeah,
man.
and Farmington Martial Arts is the only Hoyce Gracie Jiu Jitsu 360 certified academy in the state of Missouri.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so
I didn't know you
it's
had that.
the legit
Yeah.
training
Accreditation.
facility. Wow.
Yeah, because you have to go through a special teaching certificate program, and Guy Helm is the only certified instructor through the Gracies in the state of Missouri, or at least through Hoyce Gracie.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
I did
Yeah.
not know that either.
Yeah, so
Yep.
that's pretty interesting when you have these type of conversations. You understand the lineage of the practice and how directly still it's impacted even here locally at this practice as we're talking.
And that place stays pretty busy.
Yeah, we stay pretty busy. It's crazy because right before COVID hit, we was doing so good and having a lot of kids. We had to split up the younger kids and the older kids because we was having such an awesome response. And, COVID hit and, kind of, did a lot of damage really, because there was that time there where we was all shut down. So
Right.
was doing only online classes, and, people just kind of lost interest in it.
Sure.
Around in this area. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, COVID hit everything, man. I mean, it really did. It affected everything.
Yeah, we've been talking to all kinds of artists. Obviously, it's impacted all phases: martial arts, artists, businesses in general, mom and pops, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of places that, had to close their doors.
And
that's super unfortunate. You know what I mean?
unfortunately, there was big companies hopping in on those special loans that they were giving out at the time. The mom and pops, that money wasn't going to them.
Right. It was keeping the corpse afloat, like you said.
Right.
So.
This is Barrett from the ATI Podcast. Each week, Josh and I discuss current events, pop culture, music, TV, movies, politics, sports. Nothing is out of bounds. You can also tune in to learn about rising artists, small businesses, whether it's music, graphic design, filmmaking, or even a brick-and-mortar mom-and-pop shop. We will be spotlighting folks and their endeavors. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Anchor, or anywhere you enjoy your podcasts. Just search ATI Podcast. We would like to thank you for your continued support, and as always, please stay safe out there. I have to ask you, but I think I already know the answer to this. You as a practitioner of jiu-jitsu, what do you identify yourself occupant-wise? So would you call yourself a jiu-jitero?
No, I would just, call myself an instructor. I teach, the self-defense side, mainly, as honor to the Gracie family and everything that they've done, because I believe that the self-defense is the most important part.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. That's another thing that I think that this can be much more attractive to a lot of folks, particularly people that are afraid of confrontation and have a view that this is violence, because I don't find it to be. That's the intent here.
Right.
To use it for just self-defense.
And that's what, a lot of people think that self-defense and fighting are the same thing, but they're not. Right. Fighting is, I'm coming up to you, I'm standing up to you like, hey, bro, like, let's go.
It's aggression.
Come on, bro, let's fight. And self-defense is more like a last resort, like, hey, man, like, you're trying to diffuse the situation, like, like, you don't have to do this, you're trying to calm them down, you're not trying to engage them. And that's our rule of engagement number one: avoid the fight at all cost.
Yeah, there you go.
Avoid the fight, why not, right?
Yeah. Obviously, the implementation of a lot of chokes and holds is ultimately what you're trying to work toward to end whatever confrontation you have in this practice specifically. I know that there's a lot of basics of, you got to start with the easy stuff, of course, but just tell us what, starting a class with you looks like procedurally.
Okay, so starting a class, we always start with just like some very basic warm-ups, like dropping in base, break falling, do a couple like punching scenarios, and then some basic, stuff from the ground, like standing up in base. We do a couple crunches, and just kind of get our bodies moving, our bodies warmed up, because it's important to not only, it's important to stretch, but it's also important to do all these different movements to get all your joints, ready and all lubricated before you start training, because, it can reduce the risk of injury.
Just with any type of workout in general, you should have a warm-up practice, and that's exactly how you tear and pull MCLs, ACLs, the whole
major
those
injuries.
Quads. Those legs usually are an issue for folks too, specifically. And I know in jiu-jitsu you have to have, kind of a combination of things athletically. You have to have good core strength, flexibility to be a very good practitioner is key. What are some other traits that you would say?
Okay, so a lot of people think that in order to start training that they need to be in shape, because I get people, they message me a lot of time, they're like, oh, once I get in shape, I'm going to come in, I'm going to try out class. I said, that's the thing. I said, you don't need to be in shape. I said, you come to jiu-jitsu to get into shape.
Right.
And I've got plenty of students, adults that can testify to that. Some students that come up to me and tell me that, I've changed their life, which, is awesome to me. That makes me feel proud about myself. And that's why I do it. I love teaching the art. I love, inspiring other people and, changing people's lives, because, they come in and, maybe they're not real confident within themselves. So, I'm there to try to help boost their self-confidence with teaching them these self-defense techniques.
But you yourself, you work out quite a bit and stuff still. I know.
Yeah.
You run a lot and stuff?
I don't run a whole lot in the wintertime. I do most of my run in the summertime. So I get pretty lazy in the wintertime.
Yeah, I think that's all of us, though. I think I put on like 30 pounds over this past winter. So
yeah, believe it or not, I used to run cross country. And so I used to like to run quite a bit. And even working out with like weights and stuff, like I can do that all day long, obviously until I'm sore or whatever. And then that becomes difficult, of course. But like when it came to running, that was the thing that really always got my heart rate up. Even though I wear heart monitors, like you just don't get the same effect that you do with that intense cardio.
Yeah.
I think running good and running essentially is conditioning. You know, it's helping your cardio
and stamina
specifically.
too.
So yes, that turns into stamina, turns into other things. You can go deeper into confrontations if you have to, if you've got good cardio. There you go. Giggity goo.
Giggity goo.
Yeah, that's what she said, huh?
All right.
Through the BJJ side of things, I know that there's a wing of believing we're going to wear a gi, we're not going to wear a gi. I believe the Gracie family's very key on wearing gis. I know there's advantages and disadvantages of wearing a gi in the event you were in combat.
No,
obviously.
I guess a gi, for layman's terms, like for somebody like me, I guess that's basically like the outfit, like the uniform.
At our school, at the Hoist Gracie School, we all have one color uniform. It's all, all of our uniforms are white. They got the Hoist patch on them. And the reason that it's important that everybody wears the same color gi is so that one person doesn't feel less important than the other.
So if you got
everybody
feels blue,
everybody feels equal.
Right. I got you.
So that's one of the reasons that we use the traditional white gi, it's
more the ceremony of the practice, essentially.
Right, and the gi is made just to keep our bacteria off of other people. That's the essential purpose of the gi. Then we untie with grabs and stuff like that. They use the belt to, say, how far you are in your training, like how much you know.
Right.
And it's crazy. So back when Elio Gracie, when he was real little, now, if you're listening to this, I'm going to try not to mess this up. So my Gracie history is not the best, but I'm going to try to say the best I can here. So Elio Gracie is the grandmaster that, transformed self-defense side and the BJJ side. Mm-hmm. When he was little, he was real sick. Like he had this, I don't know the name of the disease, but he had a real strange disease. Like if he would walk up a flight of stairs, he would like almost like pass out from being winded.
Oh shit.
And his brother Carlos was a doctor, and he came up with this specific diet, which is known as the Gracie diet. And they have a whole book on it and everything. It's pretty unique. If you ever get the chance, you ought to read it. But it's just like certain combinations of like different foods that aren't supposed to go together. It's crazy, like how they dove into all that.
Right.
And it changed Elio's life to where he was able to he could walk up a flight of stairs and
function normally.
Yeah, and he went off on the stage and was proven to the world, like Hoist did, that smaller opponents can, defeat larger opponents. Like
he was still pretty active even into his late years as well. Yeah. In the Hickson Choke documentary, he's in there. Hickson's got pretty legit credentials himself. I think he fought a lot in Japan in the early 90s.
He was considered like, the
more
badass
side.
The badass of the brothers.
Because he had to be.
Yeah.
Because he did do those where MMA essentially started to get its notoriety and fame was in Japan as well. And they were doing things like pancrase and that sort of stuff. Like, I think on the documentary, they mentioned like Ken Shamrock, who was a big fighter over there in UFC as well. He made like $250,000 just off of 2 fights in Japan specifically. So,
and you got to think of the time of that too.
And I know a lot of the reason he was doing what he was doing too was the fact that he was getting funds for his family to expand their enterprise as well. And then that's kind of the beginning in that documentary too, of them coming to America and kind of some of the early inceptions of that. Shows him doing press junkets and stuff for his fights in Japan. So it's kind of interesting to look at the history of it and just know that there's more than one Gracie out there that's got some notoriety.
Yeah, so when Elio was a teenager, he was watching his brother teach classes and everything. Like he would show up and watch his brother. Like he didn't speak very good English. And one day his brother was running late to class. So Elio stepped up and was teaching the class. Mm-hmm. I believe it was a private lesson. And, his brother showed up and he apologized to the student like, hey, I'm sorry I'm late. I had this going on. And he said, no worries, but I would rather from now on learn from your brother. which is Alio. And then that's what like inspired like him to like be a teacher, and he started teaching all the classes. And
so we touched on it a little bit earlier too. We mentioned the belts being the difference between folks inside of a club in your example. Talk about the belt ranking system, because I know it's a little bit different than some other
I was going to say,
martial arts that people are familiar with.
I've never really understood the ranking anyway.
Okay.
So
because I think that where we get the misconception with that is people think like traditional, generic, corporate karate belts. They just think white, solid black, solid white. As silly as that is, what they saw on Power Rangers.
I was
going to
say, 90s. Or like a Karate Kid or whatever.
Yeah, stuff like that. Surf ninjas.
Right.
Yeah. So people probably have a cartoonish perspective of what belts are in martial arts, but I know in BJJ specifically, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, so there's 5 belts in the adult age. So there's white, then after that you go to blue, then purple, then brown, then black. And then, years later, like once you have, I think it's like 60 plus years, you can get like what is known as your red belt, which I believe Hickson has.
60?
Yeah, 60.
That's
60
crazy.
Yeah,
years,
it's like crazy.
So some of the ranking as well has to do with age and practice, if you will.
Yeah, when, Alio was teaching and he was an instructor, the instructors didn't wear black belts. They wore like a deep coral belt. Mm-hmm. And, they was known to be like the instructors, like, they was the ones in charge. They didn't wear black belt is more like a recent thing. So that's, and if you ever notice, whenever you see Hoist in pictures now, he doesn't wear a black belt. He wears a deep coral belt like his father used to pay tribute to his father.
Right.
That's how the belt system used to be back then. I don't know if they, if they still had, the blue, the purple, brown, and black. I don't know how that was back then. I would assume so.
It grew from there, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, jumping back to the G, is it G? Is that how you say it? G. G. Let me redneck it for you.
Got one of them there G's.
Let me get one of them there G's and put it on. Now, is that like when, like, say if you're in mixed martial arts and you're in competition, now is the uniform allowed to be manipulated in competition?
Yeah, so when you compete, there's 2 different brackets you can do. You can do gi and you can no gi. And I think it's important to do both because there's advantages and disadvantages to both. You can use you can use the gis to, choke each other and, grab them and use that to your advantage.
And the belts, right? Like, so the belts are part of the...
Yeah. That's how they break you up into brackets, is by your belt. And some even go like, so there's 4 stripes on your bar. Some tournaments, depending on their popularity, I guess, will even break you down like even stripes or
so the stripes on your belts.
Yeah, so like you could only go against like 1 stripe blue belts or 2 stripe blue belts, whatever.
And is that how you progress? Like, is it like you earn 1 stripe, 2 stripe, 3 stripe, and then you progress to the next belt?
So you got to get 4 stripes on your belt. Once you get 4 stripes, then you go.
I gotcha.
To your next belt.
Where did you get your start in the practice specifically? Who was your first instructor? What did your path to becoming a purple belt look like?
I started training with my uncle. We kind of started learning from the Gracies, and then he ended up getting his blue belt and became a certified instructor through the Gracies. From then, he's just kind of been my instructor. He's been my coach, a couple MMA camps as well. Been, a big help to me and, inspired me to believe in myself a lot and always keep fighting. So,
that's awesome to have that support for sure.
Yeah. Are you still training with family? With your uncle stuff?
Yeah. He's getting old. He's getting old, but he's always injured anymore. Like he's got he broke his hand like 6 or 8 weeks ago, and he's still not healed.
Dang, man.
And
positive vibes, man. Get better.
Yeah, it's crazy. He was my instructor, and later down the years, once we got to knowing Hoist and, the organization that he's in, we met one of Hoist's black belts, Jared Jessup, which is, he lives in Benton, Illinois. He runs IQ Athletics there, or IQ Jiu Jitsu. I got my blue belt from Jared, and Jared's a real cool guy. Like, the way he can talk about some things, like if you ever get the chance, go on Facebook and look up IQ Jiu Jitsu and just scroll through his page. Like, he's always posting videos like almost every day, like just diving into jiu-jitsu or, the lifestyle aspect or, the other day he posted, one about weight distribution and how it's important in jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. So
he's just like fully involved.
Yeah, he's fully involved. And whenever Jared was younger, every summer he used to go out and spend the summer and live with the Gracies out in California.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so when he was growing up, he spent a lot of time with the Gracies, and he's real close with Hoist, and he's part of the organization too. So Jared's a real cool guy. He just lives 2 hours from here, so I always try to get the chance to go over there and train with him and learn from him still to this day.
Yeah. So you mentioned the connection through Hoist, through these different ways and folks and means. And I know he still comes down and does some seminars with you guys, right?
Yeah. Jared just came down. I guess that was back in April. He came down, and Jared's cool because he reaches out to me and helps me with any kind of business questions I have. Because whenever he started teaching, he would when he was a kid and younger, he was just practicing the art. And then once he became a purple belt, that's when he decided he was telling me like he had a full awesome job, and they was going to offer him this promotion, and he was going to make a lot of money, and he turned it down. It's like, hey, like I'm going to go teach martial arts, and a lot of people,
hell yeah, if you can follow your passion, why not?
Yeah, so it's crazy. Like he he said they was going to give him a company car and everything, and he turned it down. It's like, I'm going to go teach martial arts, and a lot of people laughed at him, and now he's making a living doing it. So
well, that's the thing too. Sometimes if you follow your dreams, you're not going to give up on your dreams, and it is hard to walk away from guarantees like that in life. Very courageous for doing so, and very inspiring without a question.
Yeah, so he inspires me, and I tried every day with my instructing abilities and stuff like that. So
that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about was transitioning from student to an instructor. What did that look like for you?
Man,
how was it becoming the rookie instructor?
Yeah,
the greenhorn.
Man, so I went through this stage a couple years ago. This is when I decided I wanted to transition into MMA. That's long story short. That's how I transitioned into being an instructor. Once I got out of high school, I started spending a lot of time training. I was still watching UFC fights and stuff like that, and for some reason I wanted to test my martial arts. I wanted to kind of like how the Gracies did. Like I wanted to see how successful my jiu-jitsu was. That's whenever I took on my first MMA fight. That was a crazy time. When I took my first fight,
where was your first fight at?
That was in Sullivan at the Eagles down there. Okay. I don't know exactly
the name of the company that put on that fight.
I'm trying to think. Gosh, man.
That was a good fight, though. I remember
did you
watching
go to
that.
it?
No, I watched it.
Oh, okay.
Didn't they have it on Twitch, if I'm not mistaken?
I don't know if that one was on Twitch. I think that one was just on Facebook.
Maybe I see. We had a friend that went and watched you fight, and they recorded it and posted it on Facebook.
Yeah,
that's how I seen that fight.
So they kind of screwed me over in that fight. Anyways, I shouldn't have got myself in that situation, but I wanted to test myself. And I went in there I knew how to defend myself, the best I could. And I didn't really dive a whole lot of into the standing up, fist fighting aspect. I know how to throw a punch, and we've drilled, certain techniques over the years. And I did some Taekwondo, but I never looked, more like the Muay Thai side or anything like that. So I wasn't very technical with my stand-up. Anyways, me and this guy, we were supposed to fight. It was 135 is what they told me.
Okay.
Well, we get to the fight, and they're like, oh, no, you're fighting at 145. So I show up to the weigh-ins, weighing the weight that I am.
10 under.
This other guy, he shows up, weighing, the weight he's supposed to weigh. So I'm screwing myself over already.
Damn.
Yeah, it was Cage Championships. That's
right.
the name of the first promotion. Yeah. But they went out of business. So it's crazy. So MMA has really blown up here in the last 5 years in the state of Missouri.
Right.
So now the state commission, all state athletics, run all the MMA promotions and all that now.
Right.
Like you have to pay a certain amount of money to the state to run these.
Right.
And so it put like the smaller like mom and pop MMA promotions out of business
Friday, Saturday promoters.
Yeah, because they couldn't afford to pay, the
licensing
the licensing
probably.
and
It all
all
stacks
that.
up.
Very similar with the music scene too, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
But so you got into your fights and then
Yeah, so that was a crazy fight. Anyways, that guy was a lot bigger than me and ended up choking him out in the second round with triangle choke. So that was crazy. And then, I took some time off, ended up fighting again for a bigger MMA promotion, NFA.
now that one you fought like a gold boxing it's like Missouri state champion or something like that, right?
So I fought
Wow.
I fought Hugh in that fight, which we ended up winning fight of the year with that. So that was a pretty crazy fight, back and forth. Ended up losing to decision on that fight. And then after that, I took my most recent MMA fight. I guess
That's the one I'm thinking of.
that was, when was that? 2020? No, 2019.
Yeah, I think it was the year before the pandemic. I
Yeah.
want to say.
Yeah, because I had my weigh-ins on Valentine's Day. Shoot, I don't even know.
2 or 3 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
But yeah, I think the last guy you fought, if I remember right, I was looking up his stuff and he's like
That dude had a reach advantage on me, and it's very good with his boxing skills. But we fought all 3 rounds, and ended up losing to decision on that one. After that, I got to thinking too, like, I got my kids now, and they're growing up, and I'd rather, I guess, like, not get beat up on.
Yeah,
And,
a little bit more longevity.
Yeah,
and the business aspect of probably teaching too.
Yeah, and teaching, and like I said, I like inspiring others and being there for others and helping them out.
Now exclusively on YouTube, the Vulgar Display of Podcast is a show about metal by metalheads. The Vulgar Display of Podcast does not discriminate. We share a love for any and all kinds of metal. Please do us a favor and like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share our videos. We appreciate your help and support. For more information and content, check out thewellnessinvestors.com and the Vulgar Display of Podcast.
I know that your club is in Fredericktown specifically. Tell me how you got to start in the club in Fredericktown specifically.
Yeah, so shout out to Randy Strong and Kelly Strong. They was the ones that presented me with this opportunity. But anyways, my gym is located in downtown Fredericktown, right off Main Street. So we are right next door to Pizza Hut, and we're inside of like a lifting gym. And they have like a vacant upstairs. And we've got some mats in there. And they was teaching Taekwondo in there on Mondays and Wednesdays. And some of the students in there was, kept asking for someone to, come and teach jiu-jitsu. And, they was asking for years. This was like 2 or 3 years. And then, it was, not long after my last fight, asking for someone to come down and teach jiu-jitsu. So I started, coming down and, a couple days a week and helping, teach some of their students, jiu-jitsu and stuff, their Taekwondo students. And then it kind of, it just blew up from there. And now, running, 2 classes a week, hopefully more in the future. And, it's just kind of grown from there.
How many students do you have?
With martial arts, you have kind of like this flow throughout the year. So summertime, classes die down. A lot of people do a lot of traveling and, stuff like that, playing baseball, going swimming, and school starts back up, schools blow back up.
Right.
So it just fluctuates. I got right now I have 12 kids and 7 adults, yeah. So
now, are you doing all those by yourself, or
yeah? I teach all the classes by myself, and there for a while it was getting pretty crazy, and I ended up bringing one of our blue belts in to help start teaching classes with me. His name's Mario, and he's from Venezuela.
Okay.
And so he doesn't, he can speak English, but he's not the best at it. And then a couple months ago, he ended up joining the military, National Guard. So he went off to basic. He's planning to come back in August and, help me continue teaching again. So, it's just cool. But
Yeah.
it's been rough without him.
I was going to say that's crazy.
It's just you got to learn how to spend an equal amount of time with everybody.
Do you have students that are more experienced than others?
Yeah. So I have my first colored belt. He's a orange-white belt. His name's Rylan. So he's been training with me pretty much ever since I've been there. So about almost a year and a half.
Okay.
And he just recently got that was my first colored belt. So
Cool.
that's pretty cool.
What does a class length look like? How long
So
is it?
class length an hour long. That's with class, and at the end of class we have matches and do some sparring, and then the adult class is an hour long, and then after the adult class we typically do 30, 45 minutes of live sparring with the adults. So we spend a little bit more time diving into detail and the rolling aspect of the art, because it's important to share your time with the training aspect and with the rolling aspect, because the more you roll, the more it's going to become a natural reaction whenever you need to remember, those moves and those positions.
Yeah, like a muscle memory type situation.
More like a muscle memory, so you don't freeze up.
In the roll, a part of the practice is not only just an evasion or evading certain moves, but it's also to set you up into another move.
Yeah,
so
you
like,
should.
for example, an arm bar or something of that.
Yeah, you should always try to stay, one step ahead of your partner. That's what I try to tell my students. You always want to be thinking of the next move that's going to be available, because sometimes, you may go for something and maybe they block it or you can't get it. So what's next? What's setting me up here that I can go for something else?
It's like a chess game.
Yeah, it's like a chess game. It's, back and forth. And
I think that's another appeal to the sport, though, too. The practice.
Mental battle of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's more of a chess game. It's more of a thinking man's
it's a
combat.
constant battle, within yourself, always trying to, find ways to improve yourself and improve your game, and it's fun. It's like, trying to piece a puzzle together. And, that's, I don't know, I've just really enjoyed my, I guess I've been practicing almost 10 years consistently. So about 18. Yeah. So, it's been a real fun, constant drive. And, I look forward to continuing and hoping one day get my black belt from the Gracie family.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
man.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And it's pretty crazy to think that here soon that, my instructor guy will be going off for his black belt test one day. And it's crazy because, I'm excited for him.
Heck yeah, man. Put on that work.
Yeah. He's super nervous about it because, when COVID came around, it really kicked him in the butt. And now he has a COPD. So he has, so he has a lot of trouble breathing now. And, I feel bad for him sometimes. But, you just got to do what you can do. And
Right. So we kind of touched on this a little bit, too, what a typical class looks like. You touched on the warm-up aspect of it.
Oh yeah, so and then after that we get kind of sidetracked here, huh?
Oh, it's all right.
That's a great,
We always pull it back in.
After the warm up, I like to spend 10 minutes of review. So we spend those 10 minutes of reviewing any of our self-defense techniques that we go over, or maybe you want to ask me a question about something or see a new move, and so I walk around and help everybody out, make sure everybody's doing good, and
that's cool.
Stuff like
Make
that.
yourself available. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
And you
cool.
touched on this, too, earlier. Some of the common misconceptions, like somebody thinks they need to be in weight. What are some other misconceptions that you deal with as an instructor with new enrollees?
The hardest thing to do is to open the door, walk through there, and get on the mat. It's the hardest. That's the hardest thing. Once you get out there and you're having fun, and I just recently talked to one of my students about this the other day. I was telling him, I said, the hardest thing for people to do is walk in through that door and get on the mat. He's like, yeah, you're about right. Mm-hmm. So, it's finding, that's what I'm trying to figure out as a young instructor, is what keeps people from wanting to better themselves and better their lifestyle and training jiu-jitsu. So I'm trying to find what motivates people to do that and would want to do that. because sometimes it just blows my mind that more people aren't jumping on the opportunity, because we're right inside a lifting gym. None of those guys downstairs ever take the chance to come upstairs. And it's just crazy. People, sometimes, they think that they need to be flexible, but, it's, flexibility is a good thing to have. But it's not, you'll develop it too. And that's why it's important to stretch. And Hoist is in his 60s now?
I think so.
He's in his 60s. He can still do the full splits.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
I'm in my 30s and I still can't do the splits.
No, not at all, man. Looking at the wrong cat over here for sure. Getting back to your practice as well, your club. Can you talk about rates? What does the cost look? Do you got any specials going on right now for new enrollments?
Yeah, so right now I'm doing a $120 sign-up enrollment, so that takes care of because I just got some of my own jiu-jitsu club gis.
Okay.
I don't think I've posted them on Facebook, but yeah.
Another exclusive here.
Yeah. I got a hook up on those, and the company sews the patches on my gi, and they mail them to me, and we have those, and so
the gi is included on the tuition.
The gi is included, free gi, free belt, you get all those things, and you get to train for a full month. So
okay,
so it's 120 startup, and then you get the month.
This summer we're actually changing. I'm going to kind of do like an experiment. We're going to do more like street style self-defense. So the summer is going to be all no gi.
Okay.
So we're going to dive more into, what if someone's aggressive? What if someone's throwing punches at you and stuff like that? So it's going to be a fun experiment. I hope everybody has fun with it. If it is, maybe we'll continue it throughout the years.
You made the statement earlier. You said you think it's important to practice with gi and without gi. Mm-hmm. You're putting it into practice too. And I know that that's like a huge, talking point sometimes, at your practice. Like folks who wear gis traditionally might think less of who don't, and vice versa.
Yeah, because, what if you're on the street in the summertime? You're not going to be wearing a jacket or nothing like that. You're going to be wearing a T-shirt and a pair of shorts.
Right.
So no gi is more,
Hell, it may be 3 o'clock in the morning. You be a wife beater and a pair of underwear. You don't know what you're going to have to do.
That's typically my attire, man, that time, for sure. As a part of the rates, you get the gi, as you mentioned. It covers your tuition as well. So that is to consider, especially when you're starting out. Do rates stay the same month to month?
Yeah, rates stay the same month and month. And we have classes every Tuesday and Thursday. And hopefully soon we're going to start having classes on Sundays. So we're just going to do like an open mat where, anybody can come in and roll around and just have fun for an hour or so.
Yeah,
sweet.
Okay, that's cool.
Just to, help out on their learning. So
you've got the classes 2 days a week, about an hour long of a session. That's that rate. Also, you can break it down and think of it in that sense monetarily.
Yeah, and it's
what
good
you're getting for your buck there too. It's a lot of training.
Yeah, we like to, it's all about trying to help each other out. If our partner's having trouble with something, we should try to help them out or show them, a detail if they're missing out on something. And even so, at the end of class, I like to sit everybody in a circle. I like to, just pick their brains on what they was feeling throughout class on the moves we was going over.
Right.
Just to, because everybody's different. Everybody has different reactions to things. So I always like to, pick their brain and see what they think about things, or, if they had trouble with something, I think it's good to, just spend that time, trying to help better them and, better me as an instructor.
It's a relationship too. Whenever you're teaching people stuff, obviously they have to come into a safe space and feel that they're not only welcome, but, perhaps it's particularly in something like this, sometimes ego comes into play. So, know that they're in a safe space, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, but I think that's another attraction to the sport. There's a humility to it, to the practice. Again, focusing on the self-defense side of things.
And when you're teaching something like that, you want people to be able to trust that they can come talk to you, you know what I mean, or feel comfortable with you, like you said. So that's cool that you do that you get input from your students and stuff.
Now, do you guys do any of, I know that there's competitive BJJ tournaments that take place regionally, nationally, and internationally, so on and so forth. Do you have yourself, any of your students compete in any competitions that you can talk about?
I used to do a lot of competing. I haven't really done a whole lot here recently. The only thing I've done, I did a combat jiu-jitsu tournament. So I don't know if you're familiar with that at all, but Eddie Bravo is
10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. He's kind of the one that came up with combat jiu-jitsu is open hand palm strikes. So you can use those in your matches, right to the face, anything. I think it's good to look at it like that because, when someone's throwing punches at you, it changes the way you have to look at things.
Right.
Because you have to look at things differently. You have to learn, more about their posture and, how you can control them because it's easy to get away and use those hands.
Right.
So I did a combat jiu-jitsu tournament. That was very interesting. I did that, when was that? Was that last year, I guess? Yeah, so.
I think we had some friends that competed in that too, didn't we?
We may have had some friends that competed in
I
that.
think you may know Jason.
Jason Skiles, by chance?
Jason
And
Skiles.
Garrett Guess.
Yeah.
Garrett
No, I
Guess.
know those
I
guys.
don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you've seen them, you'd probably be familiar. I think
Jason's up in the Illinois area and
Yeah.
Garrett's out in California now, but they've been, for a few years, that's kind of been their
Right.
geographic situation, so they might have just missed windows with each other.
Right. I
But,
want to say that they competed in that same thing as you, though. I want to say. Don't hold me to that. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I know that they both compete in a lot of competitions. And Andrew Reed, I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
Julie Schrum. He competes a lot as well. I went to school with him.
Oh, cool. I'm glad he's still doing it.
Speaking of people I went to school with too, so Alex Whited and I went to school with him. He's always a nice guy in school. Couldn't meet a nicer guy. But he got some, as far as local boys, got some pretty big notoriety, UFC fights and so on and so forth. And had a pretty good showings as well.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like I said, MMA has really blown up here in the Midwest in the most recent years. Like there's a couple different fighters from the St. Louis region that are in the UFC.
Yeah.
So there's fights almost every weekend on UFC. And, they have their fight nights, and once a month they have their big pay-per-views. Last weekend was a UFC fight night, and the co-main event was Jake Collier, which he's a local from Cuba, and he's big boy. He's heavyweight. Yeah. And Andre Olansky, I think, was who he fought, which was he was the old heavyweight champ years ago when he was younger.
Right.
Well, anyways, it was kind of aggravating because, Jake, won the whole fight, got a couple takedowns, controlled him against the cage the whole time. And then, they fought all 3 rounds, and it's crazy because the judges gave the ex-champ the decision, probably because who he was, so it's kind of, BS. Fun. Yeah, there's, lots of local guys that are, getting the opportunity around the Midwest, so it's real cool.
All right, we all know the struggle. You ask your friend to watch a movie, they won't watch it. For whatever reason, it's ridiculous, it's an amazing movie, they're going to love it, but they just won't watch it. My name's Daniel King. I host a podcast called It's Just Two Movies. Every week we try to pick one good movie and then another movie that's got something in common with it that's so bad it's good. Sometimes we hit the mark, sometimes the bad movie is just bad. But we'll sort through them all for you and we'll have some drinks and laughs along the way. We also pepper in a little improv comedy just because we have fun doing it. Also, no shortage of dick and fart jokes here, so if that's not your crowd, maybe it wasn't meant to be. Come check us out anywhere podcasts are found, Spotify, Apple Music, Rhapsody, iTunes, the places. Or check us out on social networks at It's Just Two Movies. All right, cheers.
What was your MMA record, if you don't mind me asking?
So I won my first fight and I lost my next 2 to decision, and I haven't been back. And all my buddies tell me all the time, like, you got to go back and make a positive record.
I know that you said that you kind of decided it was past you, but do you ever get the desire? Just strikes over you to do it again?
Honestly, the desire never goes away. Like
that competitive part of it.
I tell my girlfriend all the time that I'm going to get back out there and fight in the cage, and she's like, no, you're not. So it's fun. I enjoy it. It's just, it requires a lot of work.
Sure.
And you have to spend, I just don't think that I would have the time to fully dedicate myself to a fight camp. I would be pretty tired because, working full time.
Right.
And then I run my school 2 days a week, and then I help Farmington Martial Arts till teach their jiu-jitsu program, which is on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Oh man, 5 minutes a week.
So Monday through Friday, I'm teaching full time and pretty much working full time, and then trying to raise 3 kids and soon to be a 4th. So
congrats, Daddy.
Yeah, so it's just
Welcome
crazy.
to the club.
Yeah, I just had my 3rd, and I think we're done there.
You gotta have the 4th.
You're a brave man.
See, if you have 4, I hear that 4 is easier than 3, because if you have 4, then they pair up together, and you know.
That's the argument I keep hearing. We're good, my wife and I.
So I don't know. Me and you haven't
skin
got
in
to
the game.
speak about that really. What are you having? What's your newest one?
Boy.
Oh, baby.
Very cool.
Very cool, Brady. Congrats.
Your other 3 kids, do any of them practice yet?
Yeah, so Raylan just turned 6, and she started practicing when she was 4, and she just got her white yellow belt from Jared when he was down back in May. So,
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Very
You got
cool.
your kids involved in it and stuff
Yeah.
too, you know?
So speaking of kids, do you have any enrollment, minimum ages? Will you accept any student at any age?
Yeah, so I typically do age 5. That's typically the best age to start, because, anything younger. I mean, 4 sometimes, depending on.
More about cognition and comprehension.
Yeah, they have a hard time staying focused, and even
Sure.
Everybody's different. Everybody's
Right.
I even have some 5-year-olds that are still kind of like out there and
Sure.
have a hard time
Sure.
paying attention. But that's what I try to do. I try to and with them it's those students that are real jittery. It's more about trying to get them to focus and pay attention to me, and then from there we work on practicing your jiu-jitsu and bettering your skills.
Yeah.
But first we need to work on, hey, I'm over here.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So my son's 6, and I've showed him videos of BJJ and stuff, and I asked him if he'd be interested in it, because he likes watching professional wrestling and stuff. And I think I've got him talked up to enough to.
You just got to do it.
Give it a try.
You just got to be like, hey,
and
man,
I
we're
think
going.
he would be really good at it. He's really smart, but it's definitely something I want to get him into. I think it's important to character building.
You guys don't have a martial arts school here in Bismarck, do you?
No, but Bismarck's not really that far from Fredericktown. I mean, it's a little bit of a drive. I'd say about 45 minutes, depending on what route you take. But
I took 67, so it was
not too bad.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
No, so I work in Farmington, and I'm like 15 minutes from my work. So, it just depends where you're driving to in Farmington as well. But I got him kind of talked into it. Now I almost got my daughter talked into it, but she just turned 8. She's not one for anything physical typically at all, but she likes ballerinas, and she's pretty flexible. She likes to show how extremely she can stretch and stuff. But when I was showing it to my son, my daughter was like, hey, I would want to do that too, which was strange to me because she never had an attraction to any, what's perceived at least as a combat sport, element.
I have a couple girl dancers that practice at my school. They're not there all the time, and then, I just had another one reach out to me, want to bring their kid in. So, it's weird, I guess, but it's cool at the same time.
Another thing I wanted to get back into asking, with you being involved in some of the striking tournaments, the BJJ ones, like the Eddie Bravo mentioned, how did you fare in that tournament? Is that something that you think you'll do again?
Yeah, I think so. And
because of the competitive piece, you feel like
I still like the I still like the competitive piece, and I'm still going to continue to do just like jiu-jitsu tournaments and stuff like that. And I think that's where I'm going to focus a lot of my competition side on, is just the jiu-jitsu side, and even the combat jiu-jitsu, and stay away from the MMA fights.
Obviously, depending on what tactics you're allowed to use in the combat, in the tournament specifically, you have to people don't think about the mental component of that part as well, not just trying to anticipate your opponent's next move and always be moving, but that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, I definitely.
So there's a lot of mental
concussions.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you don't think about it in the moment, but you're in there for 9 minutes at the most, and if you're in there for 9 minutes, getting punched on for 9 minutes, you can. I mean, it doesn't help if you're not dodging them either. But yeah, it definitely.
I mean, a concussion is your brain literally bouncing off your skull in some variety or fashion. So, you know, it's not something pleasant to experience.
Yeah, and it's more of like a recent disease, but I don't know if you ever heard of CTE.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of NFL players, wrestlers.
Yeah, a lot of people are getting that now, and it's, just now starting to be aware. I think it's going to, with all these,
there's been a lot of CTE suits specifically against the NFL, against the UFC, against WWE.
There was like, I think it was like 6 months ago, there was someone in the UFC like killed like his whole family or something. Like it was crazy, or killed his girlfriend.
I mean,
or
the Aaron
something.
Hernandez trial, I think that was very involved in that.
And we can use the pro wrestling example, but Chris Benoit, that was a lot of speculation with him, who was actually a phenomenal technical wrestler.
Yeah.
The CTE issue is a real issue for sure. Junior Seau, he committed suicide. Famous NFL linebacker for the Chargers and Patriots. You know, they saw a lot of CTE damage on his brain map. And you're talking about affecting the functionings of your brain. What are you going to...
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think, there's like so many of, different amateur and pro fighters. And I think, and it's just getting bigger and bigger, and, people are getting more opportunities left and right. And I just think it's going to cause more issues
for sure.
I mean, it's great, and, it's a growing sport, and, I love...
But it needs to be regulated for safety.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, another 20 years or so, there's going to be a lot of people with brain damage.
Oh, without question.
And there's, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's called bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah.
That's starting to get like a big organization too. Like
Ken Shamrock's got his own promotion.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's a blowing up organization, and they're starting to offer fighters more money there than UFC.
Paige Van Zandt did that after.
She's still with them.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And
she's in Dan Lambert's camp, I think.
Yeah, but that's like, I mean, all they just wrap the hands, and you're going in there. No gloves or nothing.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
And these people are like breaking their knuckles.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
So, it's crazy what you actually, people think of punching all the time. They see it in the movies and all that stuff, but to actually punch something or someone, you are hurting yourself as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's why things like palm strikes are more beneficial.
If you hit somebody wrong with your fist, you can kill them. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? So that's touchy. That's touchy.
I wanted to bring this back around into your school. A lot of parents or people might have apprehension once again to this being, they think of, perhaps their mind immediately goes to MMA incorrectly whenever you think of BJJ. That's how I was introduced to BJJ, was through MMA myself. Granted, at least it was in the early, fascinations of it, if you will. But parents who may be concerned that might want to enroll their kids should know that this is, we're not focusing on the dangerous side of it. We're, concussions, while they can happen to anyone in any situation, quite frankly, it just depends. You just have to hit your head just the right way, regardless.
Yeah.
But when it comes to BJJ, that's not a concussion heavy practice too.
Yeah. So like with my kids, for example, it's important to learn the techniques, but it's also important to have fun with them. Because if you're not going to have fun with them, they're not going to keep coming back.
Right.
So it's important, like sometimes, if they're working hard through class, at the end of class, we'll play a game. Right. And just doing those things like that. And
it's team building too.
Yeah. And like our warm-ups, for examples, sometimes we'll do serious warm-ups. And a lot of times, like we'll do like what's called animal exercises. Mm-hmm. So I'll be like, all right, guys, when I clap, hop like a frog. So everybody will hop like a frog, and it's good, because they're all lubricating their joints and getting warmed up.
It still is a mobility function.
Yeah, or like run like a bear, or run like a scorpion. Stuff like just silly, and the kids have fun with it, and they try to race each other and stuff. So it keeps them involved, and we go over a lot of bully scenarios with the kids. So
that's good.
Teaching them to stand up to bullies, and we have this scenario where each kid will pick a fruit or a vegetable, and they'll come up to their partner and they'll be like, "Hey, what are you doing here, pineapple?" and the kid will stand up to the bully and, say like, hey, stop calling me that. I don't appreciate it.
Right.
And then from there, the bully engages again, with throwing a punch or, coming for a tackle or whatever. And I try to get in the kids' mind is don't encourage the bully. Like, this isn't a fight.
Right.
This is self-defense.
Right.
So, we have 6 rules of engagement with the kids. Rule of engagement number 1, avoid the fight at all costs. Number 2, if physically attacked, defend yourself.
Right.
Number 3, if verbally attacked, use the 3 T's, talk, tell, tackle. Number 4, never punch or kick the bully. So you don't punch them because then you're just as much trouble as them.
Right.
So you let them punch you, and you use that to defend yourself and get control of them.
Right.
Number 5, when applying a submission, use minimal force to negotiate. So get them in your submission, apply a little bit of pressure, and ask them to stop picking on you and your friends, stuff like that.
Right.
And number 6, never hold a choke for more than 10 seconds.
So you don't ask them if they want to go night-night?
You won't go night-night?
Well, holding it for 10 seconds, though, the thought there is to try and avoid totally incapacitating them, right?
Yeah.
So, again...
Yeah, keeping, control of them, until, a teacher or a parent arrives.
So that's, again, getting back, the point that I keep driving here, though, it's a very safe, non-threatening, non-aggressor sense. This is clearly self-defense. This is, not promoting the harming of others, so I think that this practice in particular should be more alluring to people. And I just personally have a romanticism with it. I think, again, there's the chess piece like we talked about. There's other branches and wings of the practice. You can get, a little bit more physical with the striking end of it. I think that BJJ, at least, if somebody's thinking about starting a martial art, that's the one to try.
Yeah. BJJ is like the only proven self-defense system to actually work in real life scenarios. So like if you're ever on YouTube and you're ever looking up, I guess like people defending themselves against street
Weapons
attacks,
and things.
99% of the time they're going to be training in a Gracie Jiu Jitsu system.
Right. There's a lot of popular viral videos of self-defense videos floating around out there right now, but
Ninja Star.
yeah, there you go. Had to mention it.
Diamond Dave's Ninja School.
So you got any other exciting things on the horizon outside of perhaps opening the school another day a week down in the Fredericktown location?
Having Eli Knight come down, and if you're not familiar with Eli Knight, he's probably one of the most popular jiu-jitsu instructionals on YouTube. He's a black belt under Hoist, and he's going to come down on July 23rd and come down and, I'm flying him all the way from North Carolina. So I'm going to fly him all the way out here.
Yeah, and don't forget, if you sign up now, you get the free gi. The Brady's Jiu Jitsu
That's
Club.
right.
There you go. Got to plug that in there, man.
So, he's coming down, and, I'm just, it's crazy how far, like, my school's taken off, and, having this opportunity with Eli to, come down and, do this seminar. And I don't know what he's going to teach. He hasn't said anything yet. He has this really cool jiu-jitsu instructional. It's called Bladed Grappler.
Okay.
So like how to, encounter, or like if someone encounters you from the ground with a knife. Like if you're, if someone's, you're tied up with someone and they pull out a knife.
Right.
And I've taken that seminar before, and, a lot of cool details. I need to take it again and drill it more, but I don't know. I guess.
And I think in those scenarios, what the idea is to try and gain wrist control, because obviously the hand is holding the knife. If you control the wrist with the knife, you therefore are not going to get stabbed. As simple as it sounds.
Jared and Eli, they're very good about talking about weight distribution and just the principles of jiu-jitsu itself.
So the weight distribution component of it too is interesting and worth talking about. So kind of jiu-jitsu branched off of judo historically in many respects. It was more the focused practice of the close hand-to-hand combat aspect
which the
of things.
samurais used.
Yes, absolutely. So that it's important to understand where it came from. So if you are taking a jiu-jitsu class, the techniques, in the event that you do have to do a throw, you're using a lot of the same pivoting, weight distribution, leverage concepts.
Right, especially with submissions, leverage can be everything.
Right,
So-
absolutely. So you got to understand the lineage of the practice as well in that respect. Where can people, if they hear this today and they've been titillated by our conversation and want to enroll in your class, how can they get a hold of you, Brady?
We have a Facebook page at Brady's Jiu Jitsu Club. You can reach out to my cell phone number at 573-701-4220. And hopefully soon, I'm in the process of having a website created.
Very
It's
cool.
not up and running yet, but that takes some time and money. A good chunk of money, I'll say that. And
Yeah, sure.
so hopefully that's up and running soon. And, just trying to learn ways how to, grow my business.
Yeah, and guys, don't worry. We'll make sure we post everything we can to get you in
Yeah.
touch with Brady if you're interested.
Be prepared to be socially media spammed by us.
Be tagged a
because,
lot, Brady.
Yeah, so we'll be sharing your stuff. We'll be sharing stuff. We'll share links in our stories. We'll share links in our social media posts so you can get with Brady also with his Facebook listing, as well as his phone number. I saw an email address also advertised. What's that?
Yeah, so that my email address is bradymcurdt@gmail.com.
And I know that you're both on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram.
And do you ever get DM requests for enrollment or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. And
So responsive to DMs.
that's the thing. Like, you have to, if you want to run a good business, you have to be good about posting on social media, because
Right, for sure.
Yeah,
there's so
absolutely.
many like people out there that use social media. So
Right. It's free marketing.
Right,
Yeah,
that's how we
yeah.
engage our audience.
Exactly.
So it's,
So,
everybody uses it.
Yeah, everybody uses it, and
You got to play the game, the
Yeah.
social media game.
Yeah, absolutely. People can give you a call. They can email you. They can hit you up on social media. You're out there, man. And we'll be sure to share your contact details. We want to thank you for coming on the show today, man.
I know, thanks for having me,
appreciate
guys.
it so
And
much, Brady.
we might have you back on the show sometime if you got anything to promote or got any special or anything like that. Open door here.
Yeah, always welcome
Cool.
back, dude. We
All right.
appreciate you coming on.
Guys, check out Brady's Jiu Jitsu Club.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Daryl Buchanan. Most know me as DJ. Swerving Podcast on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Check in every Sunday for the episodes. We got a new podcast called the Big Hungry and Swerve Movie Podcast. That'll be every Wednesday on the same platform. Be sure to check that out. Also got a detailing business. Be sure to check that out. Swerve Auto Detail on Facebook, Instagram. My phone number is 573-327-1473. I run rates at $125 for a full inside and out detail. Have a summer package, you can get you 5 cleans for $225. Like I said, that's Swerve Auto Details on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm your boy, Swerving Podcast, baby.
Welcome back from the break, guys. We appreciate you sticking around. Just want to take a few moments to do our shout outs and recaps. Want to thank everyone who's listened to episode 12. If you haven't, get on that shit.
Yeah. And I apologize I couldn't be there, guys.
It's all good, sir. Yeah. So we had talked to Nathan from Secret Shame, the drummer. He's also involved in Harsh Realm as well as Hand of Death. Secret Shame is out playing right now, Pounding the Pavement. We mentioned their tour. We've advertised their tour on social media. So if you're somewhere on the East Coast, they're also picking up some Midwest states and then eventually traveling out westward. You guys can either see them at the live show. If you check out their music, go to Bandcamp. If you like their music, buy merch. They have vinyl, they have tapes, they have t-shirts, they've got long sleeves on there. And as we talked with Nathan, we'll be looking forward to some new music in the coming months as well. So check them out, go to their Bandcamp page. So stay tuned for that new album release as well. Next week, speaking of bands, we've got our friend Zach Beery of Enemy Airship.
Baby.
Zach and I have been friends probably since like 2008 or 2009.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range. Zach, really it started off strictly as a friendship. I wasn't even aware that he was in a band. He would make mentions of it. And then somebody finally played me some non-returner stuff, which that was the incarnation of the band at the time. And I immediately fell in love, kind of vibes of Radiohead and things
Those
of that
guys
ilk.
are
But
phenomenal.
they've even went to another level with their sound with this incarnation of Enemy Airship specifically.
Yeah, these 2 new singles that they dropped are just fantastic.
Yeah, so Magnetic Light, we've already played on the show, as we mentioned, about 8 weeks ago or so, I would say. And then we've also featured some of their more historical music as well on the show already. Also, they've got the new single out that Josh mentioned, New Tenuku Suit.
Yeah, tanuki suit. Yeah,
tanuki suit.
Yeah.
So-
isn't that like an animal in Asia? I think I know
Yeah.
that like when Mario gets the tail and flies around.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's what that's called.
Right. We're really looking forward to having Zach on to do a deeper dive on Enemy Airship and what they have going on.
Super pumped.
They're in the middle
pumped.
of recording an album, so maybe some more details there, maybe some exclusive tracks, maybe some news about shows. They've been playing in St. Louis. I know a little bit more frequently at a venue like Heavy Anchor that we've mentioned on the show before. So going to have Zach on to talk about that. Lastly, we want to thank once again Brady.
Yeah, that was so awesome. It was such a good episode. I appreciate Brady coming.
Yep, and you can find Brady at Brady's Jiu Jitsu Club on Instagram. And then you can also get in contact with Brady's Jiu Jitsu Club, which is located in Fredericktown at 130 East Main Street. That's 130 East Main Street in Fredericktown, Missouri. Call Brady, 573-701-4220. If you're interested in enrolling questions, or any questions, I should say. If you're interested in enrolling in the classes or any questions that you might have, give him a call. And then Brady also has email. So BradyMCurdt@gmail.com.
Yeah, and we'll post those on all of our social media too, guys. So you'll have those for spelling or whatever you need.
So yeah, definitely. And Brady also mentioned their Facebook page as well. He's very reactive on social media, answers DMs in timely fashion. So it's another place that you can hit him up at. He also posts pictures of his school, what's going on in his school, new certificates, Students of the Month, as he mentioned. And so we look forward to seeing what all Brady has going on. And hopefully you guys, if you're interested in jiu-jitsu, you give Brady a try. Lastly, as we did last week, we must also thank Mr. Ben Sharp of Cloud Kicker again for lending us his song, You and Yours, from his album, Let Yourself Be Huge, for our show open. Follow Ben on Bandcamp.
Yeah, guys, go
or
give them a
Instagram.
listen, give them support.
You can purchase Ben's music on Bandcamp at Cloud Kicker. And then his Instagram account is at Cloud Kicker Music, if you guys want to check him out on social media. For this week, I'm Barrett at Barry Insane on Instagram and Twitter.
And I'm Josh, the OGW on Twitter and _ Joshua Welch on Instagram.
And for this week, we are out of time. Until next time, good night and good luck, everybody.
Stay safe out there. Hey, this is Josh from ATI Podcast. For show updates and news about the podcast, follow us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ATI Podcast 22, on Twitter at podcast _ATI, on Instagram at the ATI Podcast, on TikTok at ATI Podcast. DMs are always welcome. Have a question for the show? You can always email us at ATI Podcast questions@gmail.com. Stay safe out there.